Every night the house paused at 11:59 p.m., as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. That was the minute Caleb dreaded most. While the rest of his family slept beneath twinkling Christmas lights, he lay awake, counting the red seconds on his bedside clock, waiting for the first breathy syllable to seep through the plaster. Final message, December 25th. I always thought midnight was magic. Mum said nothing truly bad could happen before the clock finished its last chime, that the world was still halfway asleep, wrapped in blankets of dream stuff. But when I turned 11, I learned there's a minute that doesn't fit into her rule at all. It's the minute that lives between 11:59 p.m. and 12 a.m. A thin, shivering seam the world forgets to stitch shut. That's when the whispers come. The first time I heard them, I was half awake, staring at the glowing red digits of my bedside clock. 11:59. Air conditioner hum, distant freeway rattle, normal house sounds. And then, like a draft slipping through the walls, a breathy voice so quiet it felt more like a thought than a sound. May 22nd, 14 lost. I blinked, sat up, rubbed my ears. It stopped. When 12 o'clock clicked over, the room was ordinary again. I convinced myself it was imagination, a dream that leaked into waking. But the next night the voice returned, writing on the same second hand, and the next. Each time a date, a few hard-to-catch words, then silence. I kept a running list in my math notebook, filling margins with half-formed phrases: June 3rd, train, water, August 12th, sky, tearing. After a week, I decided to prove, or disprove, my sanity. Dad's old digital recorder lay forgotten in the junk drawer. I placed it on my nightstand, hit record at 11:57, squeezed my eyes shut, and waited for the seam to open. Playback the next morning sent goosebumps crawling up my arms. On the tiny speaker, I heard my own breathing, a dog barking 2 houses away, and then a thin, distorted rasp. September 11th, towers, smoke. It sounded like a news broadcast swallowed by static, the syllables stretching and cracking, but the words were unmistakable. I ran downstairs, shoving the recorder toward my parents like proof of ghosts. They listened, frowning. All they heard was hissing fuzz. Mom knelt, gave me a worried smile. "Sweetie, it's just white noise. Your ears filled in patterns." Dad muttered something about horror podcasts before bedtime. They confiscated the recorder, for now. But the whispers kept coming. And because I was now listening harder than ever, the pieces began to fit. Our classroom had a poster titled "Disasters of the 21st Century," with photos of hurricanes, earthquakes, and terrorist attacks. One Monday I stared at it and felt my stomach drop. Katrina, August 29th, 2005, was exactly one of the dates the whispers listed. So was December 26th, 2004, the Indian Ocean tsunami. Even Dad's September 11th matched. Night after night, I scratched more entries, cross-checking online when no one was looking. March 11th, 2011, waves swallow city. Tohoku quake and tsunami. April 15th, 2013, runners fall. Boston Marathon bombing. The whisper dates stretched forward too, right up to last month. June 12th, 2025. Stadium burns. The massive fireworks plant explosion in Sao Paulo. I'd seen it on TV, the red glare painting panicked crowds. No missed predictions, none. December 24th, 2025, Christmas Eve. Carols spilled from every store speaker. Downtown was strung with fake icicles. But when 11:59 ticked over, the voice I'd grown terrified to trust changed. It was clearer, deeper, like whoever or whatever spoke had leaned straight into my ear. Final message, December 25th, 2025. Final Christmas for those that reside in West. Screams turn silent. Daylight becomes blinding. Flesh turns to ash. The great nation falls. I jolted upright, fingertips icy. The house seemed to inhale and hold its breath. Then the clock flipped to 12 o'clock, and the regular world exhaled again. Heater clicking, boards settling. I replayed the words over and over in my head. Those that reside in West. We lived in West Texas, El Paso, but my brain also jumped to the West, as in the United States. Daylight becomes blinding. My notebook shook in my hands as I wrote. Christmas morning, 1:10 a.m. I crept down the hall and shook Mom's shoulder. You have to listen, I whispered. She mumbled, irritated, but Dad, still awake reading, saw my face and told her to sit up. I recited every whisper I'd ever documented, the matches to disasters, the pattern. My voice cracked when I got to the final message. We have to leave the country. Now, please. Silence lengthened. Finally, Dad sighed. Son, we went through this. You're turning coincidences into prophecy. You want us to abandon Christmas, our home, because of static? Mum's eyes were wet, with worry for me, not fear. Honey, you need sleep. This obsession is hurting you. My desperation erupted into shouting. I tore the math notebook pages free, shoved them at their hands, begged, pleaded. Dad's patience snapped. Enough. It's 2 a.m. We are not humoring delusions. He ordered me back to bed. Mum followed to soothe me, but anger laced her voice. I slammed my door, tears stinging. Through the drywall, I heard them whisper. My parents, not the other voice. Maybe therapy. He's always had an imagination, but this. No more disaster documentaries. Their whispers hurt more than the prophetic ones. December 25th, 2025, 10:22 a.m. I hardly slept. I perched at the living room window, staring east where sunrise painted the sky peach. Every screech of tires, every airplane hum made my shoulders knot. Presents sat glittering under the tree. My little sister, Mia, tore through wrapping paper. Dad sipped coffee, watching football highlights. Mum hummed along to Oh Holy Night. I kept glancing at the grandfather clock, 11 a.m., then 11:30. The final message hadn't given a time. Only daylight becomes blinding. Daylight was now. At noon, we sat for lunch. Turkey, mashed potatoes, the works. I poked at food that tasted like dust. The atmosphere felt stretched tight. A balloon near bursting that only I could hear creaking. Conversation blurred. 1:37 p.m. I felt it before I saw it. A prickle down my spine. Hairs lifting, an all-enveloping hush. Birds outside fell silent. The television's commentators' mouths moved, but no sound reached my ears, as though the world had stepped behind thick glass. Then the windows lit white. Not yellow, not sun-bright. Blank white, the kind that erases shadows. Everyone froze. Mom's fork clattered to the plate. The light burned through curtains, through eyelids. I screamed, "Get down!" But the sound was lost in the roar that followed. Through the dining room bay window, over the desert horizon, a column bloomed. A colossal, towering mushroom eating the sky. Its stem glowed molten, rolling skyward into a cauliflower crown of smoke and fire. No movie prepares you for the scale. It doesn't look slow motion in reality. It looks impossibly fast, like a flower filmed in reverse. The crown spread, seething. I felt the pressure wave hit the house. A shudder in my bones. Dishes rattled. Mia began to sob. Mom whispered, "Oh God," over and over. I wanted to say I told you, but guilt strangled the words. Dad pulled us toward the basement stairwell, but I knew instinctively that plywood and brick were made of paper now. A second sun boiled above our Christmas tree angel. The angel's plastic wings caught the white glare and melted, dripping onto pine needles. Eyes squeezed shut, ears ringing. I thought, this is daylight becoming blinding. Somewhere, thousands of degrees stripped cities to bone. Somewhere, screams turned silent, cut short faster than lungs could contract. I held Mia under the table, arms wrapped tight. Dad's voice bellowed commands. Stay low! But the roar swallowed him. A wind like a god exhaling punched through windows, shredding curtains into confetti. Glass tinkled like sinister bells. From the floor, I stared at the neon red of the microwave clock across the kitchen. It read 1:59 p.m., 1 minute to the hour. I wondered, ridiculously, if somewhere a whisper was speaking now, reciting new dates for someone else, as unstoppable as rolled dice. The last thing I remember isn't heat, though heat came, folding us in white fire. It's the sudden, shocking calm in my head, a hush after years of midnight murmurs. For once there were no warnings, no dates, no ghostly narrator, because there was nothing left to warn. The white light swallowed the living room, the table, the clock, my parents' faces. It backed the world into a single blank frame. And then even that frame dissolved, as if the seam between seconds had torn open entirely and time had fallen through. Mum said nothing. Truly bad could happen before the clock finished its last chime, but she never spoke about the minute that hides between, the minute where whispers live, the minute that ends Christmas forever. The light grew brighter still, beyond bright, beyond seeing, until at last there was only silence, and then not even me to hear it.